Good evening, everyone. Good evening, friends. Right, welcome back to our sessions on Python for AI. So we have successfully completed 9 days of this particular program, and today is our 10th day, right? So let us quickly recap what we have covered in the previous session, and we'll start the topics. Right. So what did we understand as part of the last class? What did we learn in the last class? In the last class, we have understood, we have started discussing set category data types, right? Yes. So we have started set category data types. And what is the purpose of set category data type? Yes, we have started learning sets and about the functions. Good. What is the purpose of set category data types? The purpose of set category data types is to store multiple values. We can store multiple values using set category data types, and these multiple values can be of same type or different type. Both are accepted. Then, but what is the point that has to be noted is these values should be only unique. They have to be unique. Yep. So we can store multiple values. They can be of same type or different type, but the values that we are going to store in set category data types have to be unique. Okay. And what are the data types that we have in set category? There are two types under set category. One is set and the other one is FrozenSet. Yes. So as discussed, we have understood what is set data type under set category, and we have understood the properties of set, and also we have covered many functions that can be used on set data type, right? So the purpose is again the same. Set data type help us to store multiple values of same or different type, okay? But these values has to be unique. And the values within set data type will be enclosed. They will be organized in curly braces or flower braces, and all the elements will be comma separated. All the elements will be comma separated. Good. Then coming to, indexing. Can we perform indexing and slicing operations? No. Why? Because set does not maintain insertion order. When it comes to the insertion order, set never maintains any insertion order. So here we have the point. Because of this, the objects that are present inside a set, the elements that are present inside the set can be displayed in multiple ways. There are multiple possibilities. Okay, then we can create two types of set objects. One is empty and non-empty sets. Empty sets are the sets where there are no elements, which does not contain any elements, and the size is 0. And non-empty set are the set objects where the elements are present inside it and the size is greater than 0. Okay, and we cannot perform indexing and slicing. No, this is just because of the insertion order. As sets does not maintain the insertion order, we cannot we cannot perform indexing and slicing. And when it comes to the concept of mutability and immutability, set belongs to both. Mutable in the case of add function and immutable in the case of item assignment. When you are going to assign any value, okay, for any of the set element, it is an immutable type. It is an immutable type. Good. Now, so on all the properties that we have discussed with respect to set, we also discussed a few functions, right? So can you list down me the functions that we have discussed in the previous session? What are the functions that we have discussed? We have discussed clear function, then pop of index, right? Is disjoint, then what else? Is subset, is superset, right? Discard, remove, right? So all these functions we have discussed, and people joining for the first time, just go through our previous session so that you'll have a clear understanding about set data type, right? There are few more functions. Okay, we'll quickly understand all these functions in a single time, and we'll start the session, the new topics, right? So let me go back to Spider, the ID that I'm using. So how can I make, or how can I come up with a empty set? What is the different ways that we have? How can I make a empty set in Python? Empty set. Can I just keep it as A is equals to flower braces? Will this give me an empty set? Friends, please respond. No. The answer is no. Good. So every time whenever you're going to make a set object, especially empty set, you have to use set function. Okay. And don't pass any elements inside it. So this is going to create an empty set. Right? So this is the point that has to be noted, because as we know that the elements, the values that are part of a set object are organized in flower braces or curly braces. But do not, use this syntax. No, because this creates a different object called Dict. So today we are going to understand what is Dict data type. Okay, probably in a couple of minutes. So this point has to be underlined. Every time if you are going to make an empty set object, just go and use set function. Right? Good. Now, so we have understood clear function. Sorry, the first one is add. So what is the purpose of add function? Add function adds the elements to the set object, right? So only in the case of add function, set objects will be mutable. Okay, so a set data type is considered as mutable only in the case of add function. Then coming to the clear function, clear function helps us to remove all the elements. The elements that we have inside a set object will be removed. Then remove function, based on the element, we can remove the elements from the set object. Whatever the element that we specify inside the remove function, only that specified element gets removed, right? Then discard, even discard does the same, but there is a quite difference between discard function and remove function. What it is? Will discard function throw an error if the element does not exist in the set object? No. But a remove function does. A remove function will return a key error if the element does not exist in the set object. But discard function does not. Right? Then pop function helps us to remove any arbitrary element, because as the elements inside a set object does not follow any kind of insertion order, there is no index value. Okay, so any element can be removed from the set object when we use pop function, right? Then is disjoint function returns true only if there is no common elements between the set objects. If there is no common elements, then is disjoint function returns true. If not, in other cases it returns false. Obviously there is at least one common element, it returns false. Then coming to E superset and E subset, okay, so they are quite opposite. Okay, so we have understood that these two functions also written either true or just false, right? Here we have also the syntaxes. Now I'll just continue. Okay, we have also completed union and intersection, right? What is the purpose of union and intersection functions? Union helps us to get the elements from both the set objects, and intersection function helps us to get only the common elements from the two set objects, right? So let us get started with the next concepts. Okay, so it is difference function. The next function in the sequence is difference function. What is this difference function? Difference function helps us to remove the common elements. Okay, so this is not going to return us true or false, like is disjoint, is subset, is superset, but difference function helps us to remove the common elements from both the set objects. Okay, especially from if you're going to remove the elements from set object and set object 2, 1 and 2, the remaining elements will be placed in the other set object. Here we have the syntax. Okay, so whatever the elements that you have in object 1 gets removed, the common elements will be removed between the two objects. The elements which are not in common will be returned in the new set object. Okay, here we have an example. If you observe, there is a set object with 4 elements under S1, and under S2 set object we have 5 elements, right? So when you try to take the difference function, use the difference function between these two set objects, what are the common elements? The common elements are 30 and 40. 30 and 40. But it will be like whatever, depending on the syntax, friends. S1 dot difference of S2 is going to remove the common elements from S1, and whatever the elements that are not common in S1 will be stored in S5. Okay. Here. Is it making sense? Yep. So let me run the code. For that, I'll start executing line number 1621. Will it create a set object first of all? Yes, it will create a set object. Why? Because I'm going to keep all the elements in flower braces, curly braces, and elements are comma separated. So this is going to create an set object of size 4. Size will be 4, but will the order be same? The insertion order will not be maintained by set data type. Then in the same way, let me also execute 1622. Okay, where I have 5 elements starting from 30 till 70, all tens. So the size is 5 and the insertion order is not maintained if you see. Okay, can we have duplicates inside a set object? Impossible. The purpose of set object is the purpose of set data type is to have only unique values, right? Now I'm going to use the syntax of difference function so that the common elements between, these two set objects will be removed, and whatever the elements that are not in common in S1, that S1 elements, those uncommon elements will be stored in S5. So what will be the output for line number 1624? What will be the line output for line number 1624? It will be 10 and 20. Good. So let me execute it. So I have executed the line and I can clearly see in the variable explorer pane, the name of the variable is S5. It is, a set object. Okay, set data type is used to store the output. What is the size? It is 2. What are the values? It is 10 and 20. 10 comma 20. But how did we get 10 comma 20? That is the purpose of difference function. What does difference function does? Difference function helps us to remove the common elements between, the objects S1 and S2, and the remaining elements of from S1 will be placed in the variable in the new object. In the same way, will I get the same output if I run 1627? What do you say? Will output be same? 1627. What is the difference between 1624 and 1627? I'm changing the positions of set objects. The position is not same. No, I'm interchanging them. So obviously the output has to change. Good. So once after removing the elements, the common elements 30, 30, 40, 40. So what are the uncommon elements that are present in S2? 50, 60 and 70. So these three elements will be stored in S6. So S6 is a set object of size 3, elements 50, 60 and 70. Making sense? Good. So hope difference function, the purpose of using difference function is clear. Now, there is one more function similar to difference, but it is called symmetric difference. What makes the difference between difference function and symmetric difference function? Let us understand. The purpose of symmetric difference function is, it removes the common elements. The common elements will be removed from both the objects 1 and 2. Okay. But it takes the remaining elements from both object 1 and object 2. And this will be written in object 3. Okay. So this is the purpose of using symmetric difference. But in difference function, did we get the uncommon elements from both the sets? No. Only from the object 1 we got the uncommon elements and that got stored to our variable, right? But symmetric difference is not, it does not work in the similar way of difference function. Anyhow, the common elements will be removed, but the uncommon elements from both set object 1 and set object 2 will be returned back to set object 3. Okay, so the syntax is same. I'm going to take two objects, set object 1, set object 2. Okay, then using symmetric difference function. Yep. And I'm going to store the results in set object 3. So let me take the same example. S1 holds 4 values and the same elements, and S2 holds 5 elements, the same values, same elements. But if I use symmetric difference function, okay, instead of difference, what elements will get stored in S7? I repeat, what will be the output for S7? Line number 1639. Good. I want everyone to respond. So let me execute from line number 1636. So created two set objects of size 4 and 5 respectively. Then I'm going to use symmetric difference function. It is not difference, friends. It is symmetric difference. Okay. So only the common elements will be removed and all the uncommon elements from both the sets will be stored back to the resultant object. Okay. So the output will be 10, 20, 50, 60 and 70. Okay. The order may not be same because set objects does not maintain insertion order, but number of elements will be same, 5. So let me execute. So it has stored the values in this order 50, 20, 70, 10 and 60. Making sense? Good. Then what will be the output for line number 1642? 1642. Will output be same? Okay. Similar to 1639, am I going to get the same output for 1642 as well? Yes or no? Yes, obviously. Because I'm going to use, even though I'm going to change the positions, but still the common elements get removed and I'll have the same values. The elements are same, the values are same. Okay. So even though if I execute line number 1642, okay, the output will be same. Let me execute. See. Yep. The elements are similar to the previous output, but only the order got changed. This is a property of set. It does not maintain insertion order. Right? Yep. So here, so far we have understood 12 functions. Okay. So we'll quickly recap only the special cases. Okay. Like union, intersection, difference, and symmetric difference. Okay. So whatever the functions that we have used, for each and every function, there is also a symbol. Okay. A special symbol can also be used. Now we are going to discuss all of the special symbols that can be used for the functions. Again, I'm going to create two set objects of size 4 and 5 respectively, and I'm storing in S1 and S2. S1 and S2 have 4 and 5 elements. Okay. Where set data type is used to store these 4 and 5 values in the memory, and I'm going to use union function. So what will be the output for line number S3? I mean 1649. Output for line number 1649. I'm going to use union function. So the syntax is S1 dot union of S2. So union function has to return all the elements from both the set objects. All. This one, this one. Output for line number 16, 49 and 50. Good, good. So obviously we cannot have duplicates. So, you'll have the numbers from 10 till 70, all tens. 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, and 70. Yep. Yes. Right. So let me execute. I'm going to execute 1649 where I'm using union function. So what is output? The same elements, but order got changed. So let me also print S3 to the console. Making sense? Good. We cannot have duplicates, right? Yes. Now, coming to line number 1652, I'm going to use a special symbol. This is called vertical pipe. This is called vertical pipe. And where do you find this symbol on the keyboard is, so if you are using Windows machine, down to the backspace button, you'll find this vertical pipe symbol. If not, above to the enter button. Okay, you will find this vertical pipe, and vertical pipe represents union. It represents union only. You can either use function. If not, you can also use symbol. So what does this mean? S1 pipe, vertical pipe, S2 means, sorry, is it S3? Okay, my bad. So what does it mean? taking two set objects, you're performing union. Either you use union function or you use the symbol, both are same. So what will be output for line number 1652? Will it be same? The output will be same or will it change? Output. Respond guys, don't sit idle. Good, good. So let me execute. The output will be same. Why? S1 has values from 10 till 40, all tens, and S3 already has the values from 10 till 70, all tens. So all the values that we have in S1 are present in S3, right? And set does not allow duplicates. We cannot have duplicate values. So the output remains same. Is it same? Yes. Good going. Then S1 dot intersection of S2. We are going to use intersection function. Okay, so intersection function has to return only the common elements between S1 and S2 set objects. Right? So what will be the output for line number 1655? What are the common elements that we have? The common elements that we have between S1 and S2 are 30 and 40. So this gets stored in S4. Am I right? Good. 1655, if I execute, this is what the output will be. And I'm going to print S4. So this gets printed as it is to the console. Good. Keep going, friends. Then either I use intersection function. If not, I can also use a special symbol called ampersand. Okay. So ampersand is also representing intersection. So what is the purpose of ampersand? To return the common elements between S1 and S2. So will the output be same for line number 1658? Will it be same? Good. The output will be same here and here. 1655 and 1658. The output will be same. So let me execute both of them. I'll start with 1655 using intersection function. Then I'm printing the output 30, 40, 40, 30, both are same. Okay. Then I'm going to use ampersand symbol for intersection function and the output is again same. There is no change in the output. No. Good. Now let us go and use difference function. Difference function. What does difference function does? The purpose of using difference function is the common elements between the set objects will be removed. Okay. So whatever the elements that we have in common will be removed and the uncommon elements from the first set object will be stored in the variable. Okay. It gets stored in the new set object. So if you see in line number 1661, I'm going to use difference function and what will be the output? Obviously, S5 takes the values as 10, 20. Why? 30 and 40 are the common elements and those elements gets removed. And we are going to print this set to the console. Done. Instead of using difference function, I can replace this function with a special symbol. It is called, hyphen. Okay, it is hyphen and this is representing difference function. This is representing difference function. Okay, so friends, probably I don't know how many of you have gave the GATE exam this year. So this year there is a question that was asked, okay, in data science and artificial intelligence paper, okay, from Python, we got 3 questions in total. Okay, out of 3 questions, one question is from, list topic. Can you imagine the importance of data types? One question is from list topic where the question is like this: append versus extend. And this was already discussed. And the second question is from set. It is from set's topic. Especially they have questioned regarding these symbols. And if you are not in a position to memorize the symbol, obviously you lose the mark. There is a question on set topic and it is regarding these symbols. Okay, so I'll also come up with a question at the end. Okay, so just make a note of all these symbols because they play a crucial role instead of function. See, if I use the function, obviously everyone is capable of understanding its purpose. But when you use it instead of using the function, if I'm going to replace it with the symbol, what if you are not aware that ampersand can also be used for intersection? You lose the mark. Yes, that is what happened in majority of the cases. So hyphen can be used for difference. Okay, it does the same task of difference function and the output will be same 10 comma 20. Right? What will be the output for line number 1667? Line number 1667. So fundamentals play a crucial role. Okay, whoever it might be, if you are good at fundamentals, the basics, you can enjoy, you can play with the subject, but if you're not that much good at fundamentals, you know, you'll face the issues. You have to face the consequences, right? So 1667, will the output be same? No, the output will change because the positions of the set objects got interchanged and since I'm going to use S2 dot difference of S1, the common elements 30 and 40 will be removed and the uncommon elements in S2 are 50, 60 and 70. These 3 elements will be stored in S5. So let me print them. See, right? The output of 16, 70 and 71 will also be same because I'm just using the symbol hyphen. Yep, for difference it is hyphen. Clear? Yes. Now, let us also use symmetric difference. Even for symmetric difference, we have symbol and it is, this cap. So I'm going to use same set objects S1 and S2, the same elements with the same elements. Then using symmetric difference function, okay. So I'm going to perform symmetric difference function on S1 and S2, storing the results in S3, a new object S3. So what will be the output? What will be the output? 1676. The common elements will be removed since I'm using symmetric difference. The common elements gets removed and the uncommon elements between both the set objects will be returned as output. So the output will be 10, 20, 50, 60, 70. Right? So either I use symmetric difference, or even if I use this cap symbol. Okay. So we have in the keyboard for number 6. Okay. For number 6 on the keyboard, you will find this symbol. So this can also be used for symmetric difference, friends. You'll get the same output. The output will be same. Right? So let me execute and cross check. I'm going to execute line number 1676 and the output is, yes, same. The elements are same. The order got changed. Now, instead of symmetric difference, let me use the cap symbol. Okay. So, is the output same again? Yeah. The output is same. Either if I use the function or the symbol. Good. So far, we have just used the functions on, you know, the set objects where we had only int type data. Excuse me. What if I go and use the same functions on set objects with str type data? Will the functions work in a similar way or will it change? Now let us have a case study. I'm going to take two set objects of size 3 elements each. In each and every set object, we have 3 elements and all the elements belong to str type. Okay, so I'm going to just use str type data and let me start executing from line number 1683. So have a look on the variable explorer, executed 1683. So the name of the variable is TP. The type that has been used is set. Set data type has been used. The size is 3 and these are the 3 elements or 3 values. Coming to 1684, again the same, in the same way I'm going to store 3 more str data. So it is CP, probably I should have it on the top. Why? The names in the variable explorer will be ordered in alphabetical order. So A, B, C, right? So CP has to be in the top position, right? So you see here, the 3 elements got stored. Good. Now, tell me what will be the output for line number 1686, where we are going to use union function. I'm going to use union function 1686. So, as I'm using union function ensures it returns all the values, all the elements from both the set objects. So it will be RAM. Can I have 2 RAM values in the output? No. Only 1 RAM because duplicates are not allowed. Ram, Lux, Raj, Sachin and Kohli. Right? So let me execute and print the results. See. Is the output same? Yes, it is same. Just the order got changed. In the same way, tell me the output for line number 1689. We are using intersection function. Sixteen 89. Intersection function will just return the common elements. It just returns the common values. What is a common element between TP and SCP? It is RAM. So the output for line number 1689 should be just only RAM. Good, good. Then coming to line number 1692, what will be the output? CP ampersand TP. 1692. What will be the output, friends? What? Ampersand is used for which function? Good. It is also used for intersection. I can either use intersection function, if not, I can use ampersand symbol, right? So ampersand symbol is going to return the only the common elements. The output will be again RAM. Good. Then line number 1695. Which function is being used? Difference function. TP dot difference of CP. So the common elements between, the set objects has to be removed, and whatever the uncommon elements that we have in TP has to be returned. That is the purpose of difference function, right? So the output should be what? What elements will have in the output? What elements will have in the output for line number 1695? Good, good. Keep going. So it will be Lux and Raj. Good. In the same way, for line number 1698, all the functions that we are discussing now, especially union, intersection, difference, and symmetric difference, are very important functions coming to sets. Okay, set data type. Okay, so that might be, that is the reason actually, we are coming up with n number of examples. The output will be Kohli Sachin, right? Why? Because I have interchanged the positions of CP and TP. So this will return Sachin Kohli. Good. Then line number 1701. 1701. TP minus CP. It's minus, nothing but hyphen. So which is a symbol that can be used for difference. So the same output you have to get, the output should be same that we have got for line number 1695. It should be Lux and Raj. Good. In the same way, CP minus TP. So the output again has to match with line number 1698 output. So it should be Sachin Kohli. Kohli Sachin, whatever might be. Right? Good. Symmetric difference. Line number 1707. For line number 1707, I want the output. Which function we are using? Symmetric difference is what we are using. It's not difference. All the uncommon elements, the uncommon elements between CP and TP has to be returned to the output, right? So how many elements will you have? We'll have in total 4 elements. What are they? Lux, Raj, Kohli, and Sachin. Good. Keep going. Then coming to line number 1710, instead of using symmetric difference, I'm directly using, cap. So I'm just replacing the function with a symbol. Again, the output will be same. There will be no change with respect to the output. I hope these 4 functions, union, intersection, difference, and symmetric difference, I hope you guys are clear on all these functions. Now let us understand the last function on set data type. Okay, so there is one more function and it's update. What does this update function does? Okay, so update function helps us to update or add all the values of set object 2 to object 1. Okay, whatever elements that we have in object 2 gets updated to object 1 or they get added to object 1 in short. Okay, the syntax is same. Set object 1 dot update of object 2. If I have 10 elements in object 2, all the 10 elements gets updated to object 1. Right? So let us use update function on an example. So I'm going to come up with a set object with 2 elements. Okay, where am I storing this? In S1. In a variable S1, in an object S1, I am going to store 2 elements, and which type it will use? Set data type will be used to store these objects. Right? Yes. Then in line number 17, 18, I'm coming up with 4 elements. I want to store 4 elements: Python, DS, ML, DL. Okay, so all these 4 elements belong to the same type. It is str data type. Okay, and I want to store them in S2. Clear? Now, what if I perform update function on S1 and S2? So what will be the output for line number 17, 20? How many elements will I have in S1 once if I execute line number 17, 20? How many elements? Will it be 2? Will it be 4? Good, good. Starting from 10, then Sai. Okay. So Python, DS, ML, DL. So you'll have all elements as part of S1. Why? Update function updates all elements of S2 to S1. So you'll have 6 elements, 2 plus 4, right? But how many elements you'll have in S2? When I print S1, I'll get all the 6 elements. But what if I print S2? Will I get all the 6 elements again? Keep going. How many elements will I get? If I execute line number 1722. But in S2, we'll have only 4 elements. It will not be 6 friends. Okay. The 4 elements will be as it is. Right. So let me execute. I'm going to create S1, then execute S2. So let me scroll to the down. S1 has 2 elements and S2 has 4 elements. I'm using update function, and once after executing line number 1720, just focus here. Have a look, have an eye on S1 variable and see how the size of S1 is getting updated. See, it becomes 6. When I'm trying to print S1, it will return all the set elements. The set object will be written as it is. There I have 6 elements, and if I print S2, the set object with 4 elements will be written. Clear? Good. Now, let me come up with one more example. What are we doing in line number 1724? Good. In 1724, how many elements do you have? 4 elements. Set data type will be used to store these values. Okay, and this will be stored in S1 object. S1 is the variable that is used to store all these 4 elements. Good. Now, in 1725, line number 1725, I am going to use update function. So I'm going to update S1 with a new set of elements. So tell me what will be the output for line number 1725. That is your question number 1. Then coming to question number 2, how many elements will you have in S1? Good, good. So S1 will have only 5 elements. You will just have only 5 elements. You cannot have 4 plus 4. No, 8 cannot be the output. Why? Will set data type, will set objects can have duplicates? Can we have duplicates in set objects? No. Only unique elements is what it accepts. So 10 I already have, 30 I already have, 40 I already have. Then what is the element that gets updated? It will be Python. So the size will be just 5 and Python gets updated in S1. And let me also execute these lines one by one. So S1, and I'm updating S1 with a set of elements and I'm printing S1. Clear? Is it clear, friends? So either you can store the values in a set, okay? You can organize them in a set object and then you can use it for updating. If not, you can directly, use the set object as it is. Any of the ways is accepted. Just follow the syntax. If you follow the syntax, obviously it will accept, but if you violate it, it will throw you errors. Making sense? Good, good. Now, so we have completed the concept of, set. Set data type has been covered. Now, the next topic that we have next to set is FrozenSet. Under set category data types, we have two types. One is set data type and the next one is FrozenSet data type. The next one is FrozenSet data type. What is this FrozenSet? We'll understand. FrozenSet is a predefined class like set. Okay, it is a predefined class and it is treated as set category data type. Okay, it is treated as set category data type. Then coming to the purpose of FrozenSet, even the purpose of FrozenSet will be the same as set. Okay, it helps us to store multiple values of same type or different type. We can have same type or different type, but these values should be unique, no duplicates. Okay, we cannot have duplicates under set category data types. No, either it might be set or FrozenSet. Then how can we, represent the elements of FrozenSet? In set, we can organize the elements using flower braces or curly braces. But there is no symbol that can be used. Okay, there is no any kind of symbolic notation for FrozenSet. Then what if you want to convert any other elements? Okay, if you want to convert any other type to FrozenSet, we directly use a function. It is FrozenSet. Okay, so FrozenSet function will be used to convert any type of elements. It might be list, tuple, set, or whatever it might be. We can just use FrozenSet function to convert into a FrozenSet object. Coming to insertion order, it is similar to list. It does not maintain insertion order. Because of not maintaining insertion order, when you try to print the element, when you try to print a FrozenSet object, it can be displayed in multiple ways. There are multiple possibilities. Yes. And we can create two types of FrozenSet objects. One will be empty and the other one is non-empty. Okay. So what is empty FrozenSet and what is non-empty FrozenSet? Empty FrozenSet, where it does not contain any elements, the size is exactly 0. What about non-empty FrozenSets? Non-empty FrozenSets contains elements. They contain elements. So obviously the size will be greater than 0. Right? So these types, the objects that we are discussing, the two types. Okay, it might be empty list or non-empty list, empty tuple, non-empty tuple. We have started discussing from list category data types. Right? So Just have a look. It is again the same. Then the next point is regarding indexing and slicing. Since they don't maintain any insertion order, we cannot perform the operations. Like indexing and slicing cannot be performed. Okay. Then coming to the concept of mutability and immutability, a frozen set belongs to immutable category. It is a immutable data type. It might be in the case of add or in the case of item assignment. So here I can clearly understand the difference between set and frozen set. Because rest of all the points are common. You take a set data type or frozen set data type, the all points apart from mutable and immutable category, rest of all the points are same. But what is the difference between set and frozen set is frozen set belongs to both categories. It is mutable as well as it is immutable. In which case it is mutable? In the case of add function. But in the case of item assignment, no, it is a immutable type. Okay, but in these two cases, in both the categories, frozen set is a immutable category. It belongs to immutable type. So that is the difference, friends, between set and frozen set. Okay, if you just understand this point alone, as we had good exposure to set, obviously we'll understand frozen set well. Right? Now, without no further delay, let us quickly start hands-on on frozen set. Right. So how can how can I create empty frozen sets? Like how you are able to create empty set objects using set function? Yes. I'm able to create empty set objects using set function. In the same way, we use frozen set function to create empty frozen set objects where the size will be 0. Okay, so just use the function. Okay, use the function without passing any kind of elements or values. This will create an empty frozen set object. If you pass values, obviously it is going to create a non-empty frozen set object. Clear? Right. So let me start the hands-on. Okay. So what are we doing in line number 1740? 1740. Active. Start typing. Okay. You have to give your answers in the chat box. Use the chat window to give your chat answers. Okay. So what are we doing in line number 1740? I'm going to build a list object. Good. We are going to create a list object. How did we identify it? Friends, what symbols are we using? I'm going to use square braces. See, the elements of a list object are organized inside square brackets, square braces, and all elements should be comma separated. Yes, so obviously it is a list object, that is what creating. And will a list object can have duplicates? Yes, duplicates are allowed inside a list object. So will it execute as it is? What will be the size of L1? Size. Size. The size will be 6. Why? In total we have 6 elements. Even though you can just have a quick recap of the properties of list. List elements I mean, the elements present inside list can be duplicates. Don't assume that it will be only 10, 20. No, we can have duplicates. Good. Right. So let me execute line number 1740. This will create a, this will create a list object with size 6 elements. Right. Just a moment. Now I'll execute. See. Then what are we doing in line number 1741? I'm using print function to print the list object L1 along with its type. Am I right? Yes. So the type will be list. Then what are we doing in line number 1743? 1743. What kind of object it is going to create in the memory? What kind of object will it create if I execute line number 1743? Respond. It will create a tuple object. Good. How did we identify it will create a tuple object? Focus. The elements of a tuple will be organized inside regular braces and all the elements of a tuple will be comma separated. Are they comma separated? Yes. So this will create a tuple object of size. What will be the size, friends? So T1, the size of T1 will be again 6 because even tuple objects, even tuple data type helps us to have duplicates in the objects. Good. Everyone have to respond. Good. So let me execute line number 1743. Is it 6? Yes, it is 6. Okay. And if you see the type for L1, it is list. And for T1, tuple data type has been used to store the values. Good. Then what are we doing in line number 1746? Let me also print it to the console 1744. Good. In line number 1746, I'm going to create one more object. It is S1, but which data type will be used? 1746. Good, good. It uses set data type. The elements inside a set data type will be organized in flower braces or curly braces. These are called flower braces or curly braces. And all elements of a set object will be comma separated. Are they comma separated? Yep. Can we have duplicates inside a set object? No. That is not accepted. Right? So what will be the size of S1? The length of S1 will be, it will be 4. Perfect. Good. Why? The same 4 elements are getting repeated. I cannot have the duplicates inside a set object. No. So let me execute as is and print it to the console. Yes. Hope no questions. So far went well. Now let me start using FrozenSet. So what are we doing in line number 1749? I'm going to use FrozenSet function and FrozenSet function. Inside this function, what am I passing? I'm passing L1. I'm passing L1. So L1 is a list object. So what am I doing there? I'm converting a list object to a FrozenSet object using FrozenSet function. Clear? Is it clear? I'll keep it over here. So L1 is a list object. This is getting converted to FrozenSet object using FrozenSet function. Now tell me what will be the size of FS1? The size. This is important. Good, good. Keep going. Anyhow, the elements will be. Can I have all the 6 elements part of FS1? No. I cannot have all the elements as is. No. Why? Because does FrozenSet allow us to have duplicates? No. Why? FrozenSet data type belongs to set category. Set category data types, does they allow duplicates? No. So I can just have only 10, 20. So the size of FS1 will be 2. Good. So let me execute. 1749 done. So it is the FrozenSet object. Can you see the values? No. Right? What is the size? But the size says 2. So let me print them. Print it. Here I see. The two values that we have in the FrozenSet object is 10, 20. Clear? Now, in the same way, the output for line number 1752, what are we doing in line number 1752? In line number 1752, I have a tuple object T1. Okay. So tuple object is being converted to FrozenSet object using FrozenSet function. Right? So when you are trying to convert a tuple object to FrozenSet object and which is getting stored in FS2. So what elements will you have in FS2? Can you have duplicates in FrozenSet? No. So I can just have only 10 and 20. Only 10, 20 will be part of FS2. So obviously the size will be 2. So let me execute the lines. See, it is same. So the properties are very important, friends. Okay. So you should have it. You should have a very clear understanding about the properties for each and every type. Okay. So when you have a clear understanding with respect to the types, obviously you can, accordingly you can change your script. Then what are we doing in line number 1755? Doing the same, converting the object, a tuple object into, it's not tuple, it is set. My bad. I'm converting a set object into FrozenSet object using FrozenSet function. Anyhow, I don't have any kind of duplicates. So the size will be as is. Okay. So it will be four elements in FS3. Let me print them. Yes. But can you tell me the difference between S1 and FS3? What will be the difference between S1 and FS3? S1 is a set object. Okay. FS3 is a tuple FrozenSet object. That is very clear. I can understand from here. Right? But what makes the difference? The size is 4 and 4. What makes the difference between S1 and FS3? Anyways, the type has been given as answer, right? So this is a set object, friends. This is a FrozenSet object. But I want the main difference. What is the difference between exactly? That is what I'm waiting for. This is a, because being it is a set object, set is mutable in the case of add. So if I use add function, can I add elements to S1? Yes, it accepts. But can I use same add function to add elements to FS3? No. No. Why? It is a frozen set object and frozen set is immutable in both the cases, either in add function case or in item assignment as well. In both the cases, a frozen set object is a immutable type. So very important points that has to be, noted down. Right. So we have created frozen set objects and set objects. I mean, a frozen set objects have been created from multiple other types. Now, what are we doing in line number 1758? I'm creating a set object. Okay. So what will be the size? It will be 5 because no duplicates. So as it is, it gets stored. Let me print it. So it is getting stored in FS4, where set data type is used to store all these 5 elements, 5 values. Here we have the list of, the set of values. Then what are we doing? I'm going to convert this set object, the set type, the set data is being converted to frozen set using frozen set function. Okay. So that output is going to get stored in FS4. Will it be the same output? Yes. The type gets changed. It becomes a frozen set. Okay, the type becomes to frozen set. Now let me print it. I'll have the same elements. The elements will be same. It does not change because there are no duplicates, right? But the type is getting changed. Previously it is set. Now it become frozen set. Making sense? Good. What are we doing in line number 1764? 1764. Creating an empty set object, empty frozen set object, right? So I'm going to create an empty frozen set object using frozen set function where I'm not passing any values. So this creates an empty frozen set object. So let me print this length of the empty frozen set object. It has to be written 0. See, the size is 0 because there are no elements. No elements inside this empty, frozen set object. Good. Now, what are we doing in line number 1767? I'm going to create a set object. So the size will be 4. As we observe duplicates, the size will be 4. You see, the elements are 10, 20, 30, and 40. And it belongs to set type. Right. Now, I'm going to convert this set object into frozen set using frozen set function and printing the frozen set object to the console along with its type and address. So address can be achieved through ID function, right? Yes. Then tell me the output for line number 1773. What will be the output for line number 1773? FS1, which means a frozen set object. So I'm going to access the value that we have at 0th index. So will it return 40? What will be the output for line number 1773? 1773. Will it return 4? Sorry, will it return 40? No, it will not return 40. It has to return error. Why? We cannot perform indexing and slicing operations. No indexing and slicing operations on frozen set objects. Why? Because they don't maintain insertion order. As they don't maintain insertion order, there is no index, right? So for that reason, we cannot go and use indexing and slicing operations. No. So this will return an what it is going to return. Good, good. So this will return as a error. Frozen set object is not subscriptable. Type error is what it returns. In the same way, output for line number 1775. 1775. In the same way, I'm going to perform item assignment. Can I update the value at index position 0 in a frozen set object to 100? No. So even I'll get the same output, the same error what it throws us. But what if I execute line number 1777? What if I execute line number 1777? Frozen set object dot fs1 dot add of 100. So this is my frozen set object fs1 and I'm trying to add an element 100 using add function. Will line number 1777 execute? It will throw error again. Why? What makes the difference between set and frozen set? Frozen set is immutable even in the case of add function. See, even in the case of add function, a frozen set object will throw you error. It is immutable. But what if I perform the same operation on set object? Come on guys. What if I use same add function on set object? Will it execute there? Yep. It will execute in the case of set. Perfect. Perfect. Just make a note of all these important points because, they can ask you questions from anywhere. Interviewers especially focus on the types, data types. Okay, might be experienced or fresher. You will have general questions from data types and especially from list category, set category, and dict category. The next type. Clear? Right. So let us go and start the fifth type under data types. Okay, the fifth category. It is dict category data types. Okay, under dict category data types, we just had only one data type. It is called dict. It is called dict. Okay, so dict is also a predefined class. It is one of the predefined class and treated as dict category data type. Okay, if you take any other category data types, under each and every category we have types. If you take fundamental category, we have four types. What are they? Int, float, bool, complex. Then coming to the next category, sequence category, we have four again: str, bytes, byte array, range. Under the third category data types, list category, we have two types: list, tuple. Then under the fourth category data types, that is set category, we have two types: set, frozen set. But Under the fifth category, it is Dict category data types. We just had only one. It is Dict. It is Dict. What is the purpose of Dict data type? Is it helps us to store the data, but in key value format. You can store the data in the form of key and value. So far, probably, whatever the data types that we have used, they help us to store in the different formats. But the purpose of Dict category is to store the data in key value format. Okay, let us understand what exactly this key value. Okay, so coming to the key value format, the values for the keys, the values that you're going to pass for the keys, they have to be unique. They have to be unique. But what the values should be passed for the value? They can be unique. They may or may not be unique. So that means even duplicates can be allowed for values. But for keys, it is strictly, they have to be unique. Okay. If you try passing duplicates, doesn't accept. Then coming to, in which format we have understood. No, the storing that it helps us to store the data in the form of key value pairs, but the elements of Dict data type will be organized in the form of key value pair. They are to be enclosed in flower braces, curly braces, and each and every key value pair will be comma separated. A key value pair will be comma separated and a key and value will be colon separated. So on. All these key value pairs are organized inside flower braces, curly braces. And can we perform indexing and slicing? No, we cannot perform indexing and we cannot perform slicing operations because we have keys. So whatever the keys that we have for the values, in order to access the values, we can directly use keys. Keys can be used. Okay, so that is the reason we cannot use indexing and slicing operations. Okay, so it is not, object dict object of 0, 0 colon 3. No. Anyhow, we can, but directly we are going to access the values using keys. Then coming to the concept of mutability and immutability, a dict object is mutable. It is mutable. Okay, we can change or we can update the values present for the values, only for the values, by taking the value of key. So that means by accessing the values via keys, we can change or update the values for the values. Okay. Then coming to the keys, they are immutable. So again, dict, it also falls under the both categories. They are mutable and immutable. The values of dict type are mutable and the keys are immutable. Okay, the values that we have for the keys are immutable. We cannot change them. And in the similar way, we can create two types of objects, dict objects. One is empty dict and the other one is non-empty dict. Empty dict does not contain any elements. The size is 0. And coming to non-empty dicts, they contain elements. Obviously, if they contain elements, they have to be, the size has to be greater than 0. Right? So it is similar to the rest of other types. It might be list, tuple, set, FrozenSet. Right? So now I hope we had a clear understanding about dict data type and the dict category data types. Okay. So let us quickly get introduced to the hands-on part. Right? I'll go back to Spider. Yep. So the purpose of dict category data types is to store the data in the form of key value pairs, right? Yep. So, if I want to create empty dict objects, I can directly use empty flower braces. If not, dict function. I can use empty flower braces or dict function to create empty dict objects. Then what about non-empty dicts? So within the flower braces, just pass key value pairs, colon separated, and all these key value pairs are comma separated. Obviously, the length of these objects becomes greater than 0, and that will be a non-empty dict object, right? So we'll understand one by one, we'll create both empty dict objects and non-empty dict objects. And let us understand each and every feature that dict data type follows, right? So what are we doing in line number 1799? Because this is very important question, you know, which type will be used to, if we use empty flower braces, if I'm going to store empty flower braces, will set type or dict type will be used? It is dict, not set. Already we have understood, right? A dict type will be used to save empty flower braces. So this is going to create an empty dict object. Very, very, very important. It creates a empty dict object. So the size of D3 will be 0. Let me do it. I'll clear the console part. Let me free up my memory. Now, I'll just zoom in. Now, so let me execute one by one. Starting from 1799. So it created an empty dict object where dict type has been used to store, the flower braces. The size is 0. It's not greater than 0. It is exactly 0, right? So let me print it to the console. Then the length of D3 will be, the output is 0. Good. Now, what are we doing? What are we doing in line number 1803? I'm going to take this empty dict object and I'm passing key value piece. If you see here, how we can add key value pairs to a dict object is this way. Dict object followed by square braces. Within the square braces, you have to keep your key name, and then what value are you going to assign to this key should be passed. So can you understand? Can you map it? So what is the key in line number 1803? It is 100. What value are we going to pass for the key 100? It is 2.3. So it will be stored as 100 colon 2.3. Clear? So what happens if I execute line number 1803? This is going to create one key value pair inside the dict object, right? So let me execute. See. What is the size? 1. It is no more 0, 1. Because I see one key value pair, 100 colon 2.3. So you'll not find index, you'll find keys here. You'll find keys. What is a key? It is 100. What is the value that is being stored for the key 100? 2.3. What kind of data type is used to store this value? It is float. Why? It is a floating value. It contains decimals. Right. In the same way, line number 1804. What is the key in line number 1804? It is 200. What is the value that is being used for line for key 200? 4.5. So let me execute. Right? So one more key value pair got added. One more key value pair got added. Now the size became 2. Good. Then what are we doing in the next line? Adding one more key value pair. I'll just execute. You have to focus on the variable explorer, on the D3, object D3. So I'm just executing the next line as well. A new key value pair will also get added. Done. Now I'm going to print D3, the dict object along with its type. So it will return entire dict object with the output as the type will be dict. The output will be dict. So if I execute length of D3, obviously I have the answer over here. Length function will return size, size of the object. What is the object? D3. So the output should be 4. Good, good. Then adding one more key value pair to the same object. So now the size becomes 5. Yep, 500 colon 5.5. Then just printing the object and the type to the console. Adding one more object. The size becomes 6. But you see here, did the size become 6? This is very, interesting. What happened after executing line number 1814? What happened to the line after executing line number 1814? Did the size become 6? No. Why? Why? Key value should be unique. Perfect. I already have a key value 200. Okay. And how can I add a new key value 200? It does not accept. So what it has done is it just updated the value for the existing key value 200. Earlier it is 4.5. The value for key value 200 is 4.5. Now post executing line number 1814, it got updated. It got updated and it is 9.8. See, the advantage of using spider, you can go to any extent, friends, right? Now, so let me also print this D3 along with its type to the console. Making sense? So in this way, we can store the data in the form of key value pairs. Key values will be separated by colon and, key value pairs will be separated by comma. And all the elements of a dict type will be stored inside flower braces, curly braces. Good. What are we doing in line number 1817? 1817. I'm going to create a dict object, but is it an empty dict object or non-empty dict object? It will be a non-empty dict object. Why? Because I have 4 key value pairs. All the keys take integers. Integer numbers is what we are passing to, key values. But for values, coming to values, we are passing str type data. So let me execute this and I'll open D1. See, creating a non-empty dict object. It is not dict object. I mean, it's not empty dict object, right? Yes. Now, I'm also going to print the object D1 along with its type. So the same D1, the same key value pair D1 object has been printed along with the type dict. Good. Then just answer for the next question. Probably we'll end up the session. What are we doing in line number 1820? I'm going to create one more non-empty dict object with same size 4 elements. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 key value pairs is what I have. For all the key values, we are passing str type data, and for all values also we are passing str type only. Okay, so let me execute. Done. So I'll also open it. See, here are the key values, and here we have the values. Okay, right. Now let me print them. Okay, and also I'm going to get the length of D1 and D2. The output will be 4 and 4. 4 and 4. Right. So what are we doing in line number 1826? In the dict object D1, okay, so do we have any key value as 10? Yes, we have a value as 10 for one key. Okay, so the value that we have for the key 10 is apple. What am I doing here? I am going to update the value for key value 10. So instead of apple, I want to keep it as p apple, pineapple. Okay, will it execute? Yes, it will execute. We have understood that a dict object, a dict type data is mutable in the case of values. For values, it is mutable, but for key values, it is immutable. So let me print it along with its type. So it got updated. Clear? Right. So here I'll wind up the session. In the next session, we'll understand the predefined functions that can be used on the dict type. Right? So if you have any kind of questions, please shoot your questions in the chat window. And the task for today's session will be start hands-on on FrozenSet as well as dict type. Come up with multiple examples, your own examples, and try to resolve them. Okay, even on set category data types, you have to come up with multiple examples for each and every property that we have discussed. For set category data types, it is set and FrozenSet. Come up with multiple examples, and you have to be thorough on the concepts. Yes. Yeah. If you have any kind of questions, you can ask them in the chat box. Any questions? Yes, we have a function called set, okay, which helps us to create set objects. Like how we have FrozenSet, in the same way we have set object, set function. Yes. So the feedback link has been posted. Before you leave, if you feel the session went well, hit on the like button, friends. Okay. And also share these sessions across your connections. Ask them to join the sessions and learn Python. Ask them to learn Python. And if you find any difficulties, if you are facing any kind of errors, ask them in the comment section. Okay, we'll respond immediately. Thank you. In every data type category, there is common. Yes, we have common empty and non-empty, objects. Thank you so much, for your wonderful feedback that I'm going to get on daily basis. And a kind of support that you can also provide us is just hit on the like button. Okay, that will be more interesting for us to come up with multiple such kind of programs in future as well. Any other questions? Right, if no questions, thank you so much, guys, for joining the session and making it interactive, wonderful. And we'll meet in the next session. Until then, take care. Have a great day. Signing off.